years in the case of Obinna Abetta, 10 years and 6 months in the case of Ike Ekremadu, and 6 years in the case of Beatrice Ekremadu. Obinna Abetta, stand up, please. There are aggravating features in your case. You deliberately targeted a victim who was particularly vulnerable due to his young age, his isolation from his immediate family, and his poverty. After the conspiracy to exploit C was thwarted, you continued to try and find another person to be exploited in the same way. As against that, you have no previous convictions, and you are a person of good character. The applicable starting points are custodial sentences of 10 years in the case of Obinna Abetta, 10 years and 6 months in the case of Ike Ekremadu, and 6 years in the case of Beatrice Ekremadu. Obinna Abetta, stand up, please. There are aggravating features in your case. You deliberately targeted a victim who was particularly vulnerable due to his young age, his isolation from his immediate family, and his poverty. After the conspiracy to exploit C was thwarted, you continued to try and find another person to be exploited in the same way. As against that, you have no previous convictions, and you are a person of good character. The applicable starting points are custodial sentences of 10 years in the case of Obinna Abetta, 10 years and 6 months in the case of Ike Ekremadu, and 6 years in the case of Beatrice.
Welcome to today's episode on Dark Room. It is a live stream, and you might be watching this much later on. Basically, as you can see, the trending topic out there all across Nigeria right now is the former deputy, or let's say the deputy Senate president, who was happened to be sentenced, and
the applicable
UK,
starting
and,
points
on the audio
are custodial sentences of 10 years in the case of Obinna Abetta, 10 years and 6 months in the case of Ike Ekremadu, and 6 years in the case of Beatrice Ekremadu. Obinna Abetta.
Basically, you will be able to, I guess, we will be able to understand and kind of like see what that impact is for Nigeria as a nation. And if you're just tuning in, or you're just watching me, or you're just watching this podcast, I would like to say do us a favor by sharing and liking, following the page as well. Just click on the notification button. Either whether you're seeing it on Facebook or you're seeing it on YouTube, just give us the follow button, and subsequently you will get notified of whenever we come live or seeing our subsequent videos as regards events and happenings all across Nigeria, the globe, that affects you and I. We get to talk about them. I get to talk about them. Get your opinion, what you think about the situation, and what you feel the situation is like. So this is the podcast, Dark Room, the section of what do you think. So always try as much as possible. Let's get to get in touch and communicate as much as possible on this podcast. So I'm your host, DA, and I will always be here to bring live to you events like this and happenings as such all across Nigeria. So on that note, I kind of like everybody's realistically waking up to this incident of the organ harvesting case against the former Senate deputy senate president, which is Ike Ekwemadu, the wife, and another third party who was indicted for kind of like aiding and making the whole scenario play out the way it is. So, but one thing that I feel like from the pronouncements of the judgment, if you notice, was the fact that the judge laid emphasis on the fact that the third guy, who is, I believe, happens to be a doctor, over there, and laid emphasis on his character being a good person, but then also pointed out the fact that while the case was going on, while the investigation was still on, as regards this specific boy, who was in a episode that I read on on WhatsApp, was tagged as the Davids. I'm still going to read that information across to us, so that because it's a piece that it's so long, but you get the message in it. So why that investigation was going on, this guy or this person was still looking for somebody else whose kidney would be used for Ekwemadu's daughter, as against the laid down rule that guides UK, England, as regards transplant of human organs and tissues. So, but him still doing that, knowing that investigation was going on, kind of like is the biggest of all for me. Like having that guts, you're in one problem, you're supposed to be trying to see how you can navigate out of that problem, and then you are all in again to putting yourself in that hard problem again. So it's kind of like ridicules the idea for me as regards the mentality of let me just say Nigerians, let me not generalize as black people. You're in one problem, and then the same problem that you're in, why that was just starting and still going on, you're already manipulating again for that other problem. Why wouldn't you just learn? But it's just that mentality of feeling like, oh, it's just deputy senate president, Nigeria, the diplomatic thing will come in, and this case has played against the odds of what is supposed to be, or what is believed to be the norm in the current Nigeria, and that's where I feel like this is coming as a shock, because most people, for me, maybe you would say, if this was supposed to be like Nigeria, for instance, for me, I would probably be thinking like, what, this case will go on for some time, and at the end of the day, they just will probably just play around it and look at the case in one technical term and just say, what, okay, yeah, just let it be settled with the boy and everything. But this became a lesson for the political class of Nigeria, that the lawlessness you enjoy locally might not be tolerated internationally, especially in places where they don't want you to start something bad in a public space. So that's where I feel the real message is, for this situation. It's such a pity. The investigations have done what they need to do. The judgment has been pronounced. Nobody really knows what really transpired in the background with the boy leaving Nigeria and all of that. Different stories, different chapters, different information was out there. But what really made the difference was the fact that the system understood that this is against our rule, this is against our arrangement, this is against the way we want our society to be structured, and went for that first. Now I think all of that is done. The next thing will be focusing on the boy now to see, okay, what really happened. And I read where it says he would be granted asylum, something that keeps him in the UK, and obviously that's the best thing for him because I don't. He just better not go to Nigeria. I tell you, he just better not go to Nigeria. He's better off in the UK, and he's just better off, being in the UK as against anything that has to do with Nigeria right now. So, for me, I would say he's better off in the UK, or better off just go to Sudan. Or if they want to get a deportation notice against him, it's just better declare as a Sudanese than coming to Nigeria because. In the initial point, the Nigerian system even went against him all the way from Nigeria at the first instance by claiming that he gave wrong information of being an underage, and also the tendency of knowing what he was going there for. Well, that's one argument for another time. But the real scenario that played out here is the fact that this is not what they want in their own system, and they outrightly rejected it by shaming the big guy who brought in the small guy for whatever purpose it was agreed to be. So I'll read to you this little piece that I saw on WhatsApp, and which is really a very detailed analysis of the whole scenario, the way it is in Nigeria as against wherever else that you see. So I read. It says, Ekweremadu, when David smashes Goliath again. It's an interesting irony of fate that the 21-year-old Nigerian street hawker Upo Nwamini David has brought down the 61-year-old former deputy president of Nigerian Senate, distinguished Senator Ike Ekweremadu, to his knees. Barring an appeal to a higher jury, Senator Ekweremadu, his wife Beatrice, and their organ harvesting agent Obita Will, May 5, proceed on jail term for attempting to harvest the LD kidney of David to rescue the ailing kidney of Ekweremadu's daughter Sonia. Yeah, and that's one person I really pity for in all of this, because while all this drama was going on, you can imagine the mental state of knowing your parents are in trial, you're not getting whatever. Sorry, it's not what laughing of. You're not getting whatever the intent was of the transplant. Then you have to wait in the normal procedure of the system, which according to them, our case was that of an emergency. So, but that's just the situation right now. And David would, however, remain in London under the protection and care of the UK government for as long as he wants. Wow. Well, I guess the obvious thing is Nigeria is going to be the lion's den for him to even come to. So Ekweremadu was elected into the Senate in 2023 when David was barely 2 years old. Oh, sorry. Ekweremadu was elected into the Senate in 2003. I guess that's what the person that made his note wanted to write, when David was barely 2 years old. And he has been in Nigeria's red chambers for 19 good years. Yes, 19 good years. So you wonder how you've been in government, part and participant of this participants of this government for 19 years. How come these structures do not exist here? How come you don't have a place here where your daughter can get this treatment without having to go that all the way to the UK? These are questions that are really, kind of like demanding answers. Is there 1 year and you choose not to? So that's not even the argument. Should it now be that even if there is 1 year, without we knowing the true side of the stories, could it have been that David's organ would have been harvested without his knowledge, or maybe ignorance, and maybe for whatever reasons, he was motivated to want to do that for whatever reasons? Should it be that, or should it be willingly? And that's what the British system is kind of like implying, that organ vesting has got to be willing, and not just willing because they know that people might be coerced to being willing. It has to be from a direct family member, or you wait for a process which allows public donors who doesn't know who needs it and maybe decide to donate, and you wait in line. So once there's one available, you get it. If it matches for you, if it doesn't, next person checks and they get it. So that's the system that they don't want, you know. So, but that's just the system. I'm just trying to explain. So then, going forward, it says that yeah, the note says that Ekweremadu was elected into the Senate in 2023 when David was barely in 2003 when David was barely 2 years old, and he has been in Nigeria's red chambers for 19 years. He should dedicate the jail term to the members of his elites, wealthy, powerful, influential colleagues who arrogate to themselves sense of entitlement and use their privileged positions to oppress Nigerians. They need to realize urgently that the gaps of arrogant pride they are done themselves with are reserved for criminals in the civilized world. When the news of arrest of Ekweremadu and wife broke last year, many ordinary Nigerians already believed that they were guilty as charged. Well, you can say that again. You can just say that again. You know, it's like you just trust the system to a point where you just feel like they won't, they obviously won't come and arrest you when they don't have evidence, because there's always a repercussion for that. They know that if they do that, detain you beyond whatever is necessary, and it's maybe wrong, or they don't have the right information, then at the end of the day, it's going to become a situation where it's just going to become a situation where maybe you have to then demand for compensation, and the system there does not really kind of like appreciates that. So they tend to want to make sure that whatever they're going for is right and accurate. So and that's the situation. So going forward, read on. It says, because the masses know the Nigerian elites as well as what they can do to enjoy the best of the privileges available on earth. However, his colleagues were shocked with disbelief for the arrest and detention, perceiving the event as strange. Yes, it's very strange to detain a senator. A old senator. Hey, very detain not just now senator, a whole deputy senate president. Very detain. Show Ben. So that is very awkward, having such a person being detained. So going forward, when the news of Ekweremadu and wife broke last, many ordinary Nigerians believed that they were guilty as charged, because the masses know the Nigerian elites as well as what they can do to enjoy the best of privileges available on earth. However, his colleagues were shocked with disbelief for the arrest and detention, perceiving the event as strange. Didn't he tell them who he was? Show him up journey. And they hold the whole Nigerian senator. Not just senator, deputy senate president. They don't know who he is. They don't know who he being. But well, the British police ignored that, and they held him. And and then that went on to enjoy the best privileges. His colleagues were shocked with disbelief for the arrest and detention, perceiving the event as strange. They didn't know who he was, like a typical power-drunk driver to the big man in Nigeria would tell whoever crosses his path, "Do you know who I am?" But in the instant case, we are talking of a whole distinguished and perhaps the longest-serving senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The big men in Nigeria saw the Ekwerimadu's episode as status disgrace to the hallowed chamber and flagrant disrespect to the nation. The Senate hurriedly raised points of order in the plenary, issuing directives to various government agencies, including Foreign Affairs, embassies, and Nigeria Immigration Service, with a view to rescuing their colleague from such an embarrassment. They summarily declared the victim, Ukpo David, guilty for giving a false claim about his age. He was not underage, and as such, he might have given consent for dismantling of his own sound kidney to rescue the life of daughter of the big man. Yeah, you please, just note this and follow up. The NIS Controller General Issa Idris hurriedly released biography of David to the world, apparently to inform UK courts to dismiss the case. Issa told journalists that David could not be underage because the form he filled while applying for international passport in November 2, 2021 at Gwagwalada, FCT Abuja, indicated he was born on October 12, 2000. Which will make him 23 now, though. Armed with this top secret information, the Senate sent a 6-powerful delegation to UK for solidarity support for their colleague. Nothing, absolutely nothing, was mentioned about the concern or care for David and his parents, who are equally distressed Nigerians. They know he could not attempt such hubris in Nigeria. It was assumed that senators don't face the law in Nigeria. Not only are they perceived as above the law, they are the law. That's a serious case. So why the Nigerian Senate? This is really the major point. From this draft when I read it, was that Senator Ike Ekwerimadụ was in detention. Why the Nigerian Senate was busy, all concerned only about their colleague. They are less concerned about the other Nigerian who is also involved in the trial, who is the real center of the issue. For me, I felt like if they really wanted a solution, if they really wanted a very good diplomatic resolution, the opposite was what they did. What they should have done was to go as much as possible to see this boy and get the truth, get the real information of what really transpired, what really happened, what led to him deciding, or what led to him being in the UK, what got into the UK, who got into the UK. The investigation should have been thorough from them here at home. To hear from the boy as much as hear from their colleague, know how this whole scenario played out. Was it that Ike Ekwerimadụ got someone, maybe a third party in Nigeria, that got the boy, and on Ike's side, Ekwerimadu's side, it might have been plain to say, oh, we're looking for this, anybody can donate, I don't mind, paying compensation, for whatever that is. But that might not even, that in the UK is against their law. You just have to understand that. In Nigeria, I think it's also against the law. You can't compensate someone for any donation. It has to be willing, even though the compensation might happen in the background, but it has got to be willing. So maybe Ike Ekwerimadụ had someone, to do all that job for him, and in his own conscience, in Ekwerimadu's conscience, he's paying for that. Now, who is that person? Because the only side we know is the middleman in the UK. How did this boy from Nigeria, a local boy from Nigeria, got to be in this scenario? Now, what that would have done is to also know, is this a racketeer? Is this like a cartel, or is this something common, or is this boy's case an isolated case? That is what I feel the Nigerian Senate should have been more concerned about, rather than just so concerned about Ekwerimadu's trial and just trying to paint Ekwerimadu's situation as good in order to just get him out. Then when you get him out, what then happens? What becomes of that boy? What becomes of the parents? These are the real things that I feel we should really or they should have really taken a good look at, to say, okay, you know what, let's know where this issue started from, let's know where this issue began from, so that we can know where this issue started from and now know how it's heading. Then diplomatically, they can now bring out evidences to say, you know what, this thing is what it is against your law. But the thing is, our man, the senator you have, he didn't do that, outrightly for a very negative purpose. It might have been maybe he just wanted to save his daughter's life and didn't mind how that sides on the legal side of life. He just wanted to save his daughter, and he was willing to pay the price. But the whole thing is a miscommunication between him, whoever had served as his agent, whoever the middleman is here in Nigeria, then that got to the boy, and what the boy was told, because we don't know what the middleman here told the boy. Maybe it's just, oh, you have you found the airpass, somebody's just going to help you, you'll be in UK, you leave, all you just have to do is just do as they say. You really just don't know. You really just don't know what a boy like that, who according to whatever information is out there, was struggling with life. And if someone comes with such an offer, he might not even listen to the details and just dive into what he believes should make his life better, should help his life, and and just accepting the offer without knowing much about the details of what the offer is required of him. So that's why I feel the Nigerian Senate got it all wrong. They should have focused more on investigating the whole issue thoroughly, knowing how it got to happen that the boy was put in that situation. Get to know the boy's parents, get to know the boy's family, question them, ask them, were they aware of the boy's movements, traveling, who came to request him, who came to demand or seek his what's the right word, seek his support in this sort of scenario. So then when they know these persons, they know what really transpired, what did they tell the boy, and for what intent was it for, and was the boy aware, privy to the information that he was going for his kidney to be harvested? Was he aware? So those are things I feel like they should have done. Those are things I feel like they should have done and analyzed and see that, oh, okay, truly this is what it is. And then, only then, they will now find a way to have a sort of soft landing diplomatically, with the British, government, or maybe give not even soft landing, even give more clarity to the British government what really transpired, and they can now understand the Ekwerimadu's plight and situation in that case. Maybe the judgment might be different, and then it also allows the Nigerian government to also see behind their own side. Is there a cartel? Is there persons? Is there people? Is this something normal? Is this happening across, Nigeria? Is it happening to young people? Because you hear of stories, everywhere, people being sweet mouthed to believing in certain things, fantasies, and they take them abroad, and this happened to them, and all of that. So that could have been what the focus of the Nigerian Senate is. Should have been for the Nigerian purpose, but rather they went for the Ekwerimadu's purpose, which I feel was their wrongdoing. And so that went on, and the draft had so many incidents where many Nigerian senators have been so powerful to the Nigerian law. Before now, Nigerian senators are, don't even think about it. So let me just go to the end of it. It says the elites, including and particularly senators, have basket full of tricks to confront and beat the judiciary in. If they are not using specialist counsel to harass and blackmail the judges, they are faking sickness. If they are not showcasing ethnic, regional, and religious sentiments to claim persecution, they are releasing political sentiment. The tricks would succeed in diverting attention, prolong the process, and confuse the people. It is on this note the conviction and sentence of Ekweremadu was a landmark in dispensation of justice to David, who represents the oppressed and victimized ordinary Nigerians. It was an expensive justice delivery to the oppressors in Nigeria and all over the world, who still believe that the less privileged people are tools for the unlimited pleasure, while Ekweremadu wife and agents will be in jail on behalf of themselves and allied colleagues. David happily represents the rest of us, presents a joyful relief that others can also have a pleasant portion in this our world. Well, that's a note, not my note, but my opinion was that what I think was that the Nigerian Senate, the Nigerian government should have gone for a Nigerian court in that case, seeking to know and unravel the real situation that led to this whole international disgrace, as you call it, for it, the number 4 man of the nation to be thrown in jail in the UK. And this idea of them always going to the UK, this is one of it backfiring, for medical tourism, things you should have put in your own place, and and not just backfiring, also the fact that they believe so much in themselves that against even understanding the law, because if they had taken time out to understand the law of where they are going for this medical tourism for, they would have known that, wait though, what we're doing is on the wrong side. If this boy decides to do this, what then happens to us? Shouldn't we just find a legal way to do it where it's not going to be anything bad? So those are things that I feel like they didn't really consider in making sure that they are able to properly assess situation. So they everywhere see themselves above the law, and this really backfired badly, very, 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 very badly. It's such a bad thing for the family right now. I can imagine father, mother in jail, daughter sick. I wish the daughter well. I wish her a quick recovery. And I wish the young man too well. I wish his family well, and I do hope everything will be in order henceforth. Their daughter will get healing and will feel better, and as well, the young man will also find peace, and they too will also learn from the mistake and also find peace. These are my opinion. So, what do you think? What do you think should have happened in this whole scenario? What do you think the Nigerian government should have done? What do you think the Ekweremadu should have done? Or what do you think the British government should have done? Or what do you think David, the boy in question, whose organ might have been would have been affected, should do? What do you think? So don't forget to like, share, and click on that notification button for this podcast, and you can always join me live, as this is a live. You might be watching it later. You can always join me live. So if you click on that subscribe button or like button or follow button, whether on Facebook or YouTube, you might always see my content live. So do help share so that we all can get into this conversation going forward, and subsequently we can all get in the conversation. You can call in, and I'll be here to hear your view, hear what you think about any topic whatsoever that we're discussing. So, see you guys later, and I remain my humble self, DA. I sign out here. See you guys later.
Good character. The applicable starting points are custodial sentences of 10 years in the case of Obinna Obeta, 10 years and 6 months in the case of Ike Ekweremadu, and 6 years in the case of Beatrice Ekweremadu. Abina Abetta, stand up, please. There are aggravating features in your case. You deliberately targeted a victim who was particularly vulnerable due to his young age, his isolation from his immediate family, and his poverty. After the conspiracy to exploit C was thwarted, you continued to try and find another person to be exploited in the same way. As against that, you have no previous convictions, and you are a person of